Daniel and Johnny's rivalry is without a doubt the centerpiece of not only the original Karate Kid movie, but also what started Cobra Kai into the show we all know and love today. The common question of course is, who is the better fighter? Today I'll be answering this age-old question to hopefully settle this debate. I'll be comparing their fights over the years and throughout the movies and the seasons of Cobra Kai. It's also important to note that I will be comparing them at their absolute best in each iteration of the character. To start off, we have to compare them in the first Karate Kid movie. And well, Daniel beat Johnny in the All Valley, so he's better, right? Well, not necessarily. As I've said before, I'll be comparing them at their best, and neither Johnny nor Daniel were at their best, as Johnny lost his confidence while Daniel had an injured leg. But you might be questioning, is losing confidence really comparable to having an injured leg? Well, let me explain. In Cobra Kai, it's shown that confidence does affect an individual's fighting ability, as we see in Season 4 when Eli loses his confidence to the point that he lost to a point to a random fighter in the qualifying rounds, but after regaining his confidence, proceeded to win the entire tournament. Anyways, back to the point, Chris confirmed that Johnny lost his confidence after losing to Mr. Miyagi at Halloween, thus his fighting ability should also have decreased. The easiest way to prove this is the fact that Johnny's teammates in Cobra Kai, such as Dutch and Tommy, were both able to score a point on a healthy Daniel, while Johnny was about to lose 3-0 to an injured Daniel, as stated by Kreese. The Karate Kid novelization also states that Johnny was the best fighter in Cobra Kai during this time, so him performing worse than lesser fighters would only prove that he was not at his best. This would also include Bobby Brown, who was not only able to put Daniel out of commission, but was also able to defeat Jerry Robertson slightly faster than Daniel did. And since Johnny at his best would be better than Bobby, Johnny thus was the better fighter in Karate Kid 1. Since Johnny wasn't in any of the other Karate Kid movies, not counting Karate Kid 2, we'll move on to Cobra Kai. Starting off in Season 1, many people think the obvious answer is Johnny since he was the only one of the two who was actually training. But the biggest thing people forget is that while Johnny quit karate after the first movie, Daniel never stopped training from 1984 to at the very least 2010, which is when Sam stopped karate. Furthermore, it's shown that Daniel has barely regressed at all, as he was able to reach a relative level of progress on the two-legged kick as he did in his 20s. With Johnny only getting back into karate for a few months compared to Daniel's decades of training, it's clear that in Season 1, Daniel was the better fighter. Season 2 is a bit more obvious, as Daniel and Johnny both fight briefly at the end of the season. From this brief clash, we can infer that Daniel landed several hits on Johnny, while Johnny only landed hits when Daniel was either distracted or had his back turned. Thus, we can conclude that Daniel was the more skilled fighter in Season 2. Season 3 becomes a lot more tricky, as while they fight at the start of the season, neither of them were at their best, so really the only way to compare them is by evaluating their performance against Kreese. However, even this becomes difficult as there is a significant difference in the mindset and physical condition in which Kreese approached both fighters. It's stated that Johnny is Kreese's weakness, and as demonstrated with characters who have other characters as their weaknesses, it's justified to say that Kreese held back on Johnny. Against Daniel though, Kreese was completely bloodlusted, as unlike with Johnny, Kreese had no reason to hold back. But the key difference here is that Kreese was beaten, bloodied, and just woke up from being knocked out by Johnny. Daniel has access to the pressure points technique, although it's unlikely that it would be effective as shown in Season 4. Furthermore, regardless of Kreese's condition, Daniel did slightly perform worse, as he was tagged by Kreese and then tackled through the glass window, so in Season 3, I'd give the very slight edge to Johnny, only because I don't see the pressure points being a complete game changer. Season 4 is without a doubt the easiest one to settle, as Daniel and Johnny both fought, which ended with them both getting knocked out at the same time. Therefore, Season 4 is just a draw. Season 5 is similar to Season 3 in that there's no clear-cut victor, so I'll just have to break down their feats. Johnny with his Rage Jam was able to beat up the 5 senseis, while Daniel defeated Terry. While beating the 5 senseis may be a better feat, if we look into this closely, Johnny didn't really win the fight, as he nearly died at the end but was saved by Mike Barnes. Daniel on the other hand defeated Terry with relative ease, and was not hit even once. While Daniel achieved balance, which is a state of mind that brings out his full potential, Johnny's Rage Amp is something that has a very short time limit of around 2 minutes, as seen when he was nearly killed by Minjun and Yan Wu. Ultimately, this boils down to whether or not Johnny can beat Daniel in 2 minutes, and I find that to be very unlikely, as they should be fairly matched in just about every relevant category. So I don't see Johnny being able to bull rush and overpower Daniel, who has now achieved balance in Miyagi-Do. Therefore, Daniel wins. Thus, the overall winner is Daniel with a score of 3-2 and 1 draw.